Hello, and welcome back to Point to Play Games. Back at it again with some Detective Grimoire. When last we were here, we had just looked at the crime scene of. Only ended up at this weird boggy. Bog. Yeah, no. That's what it's called, Boggy's Bog. Because of the weird fish creature that has apparently killed this guy. At least allegedly. So, with that, we've ended up back in this clearing, and where it once was empty, now it seems to be full. So it looks like there's just some people to talk to, so let's get going.
Huh.
All right, let's see. Another suspect for my notebook.
That's a little rude.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that bit out loud?
Maybe not. Maybe I can hear your thoughts.
So would you be able to answer my questions before I asked you?
Would you be able to question my answers before I tell you?
I could try.
I'm Bobby Burl, professional cameraman. Pleased to meet you.
I'm Detective Grimoire. I'm here to investigate last night's murder. Obviously.
Grimoire. Strange. Is that your first name?
It's my 23rd name, but it's the one I like the best. First name, what's a first name? It's my second name. Detective is my first name. I like that it's my 23rd name. It really feels like this guy is quite sassy, though we still have not found our fabulous fedora hat. Either way, let's go with this one.
It's actually my 23rd name, but it's the one I like the best.
What on earth? Okay, so this is interesting. So I guess the way that the conversation structure really is it kind of goes with we have options to present profiles or clues or things like that. These question marks must be things that we can learn to talk about later, and eventually we unlock some sort of big question. Well, I mean, either way, I guess let's start with talking about this guy's job.
So you already told me what you do, but now, why would a cameraman be working here?
I go where I'm needed. Vincent wanted to come to the swamp, and I was happy to help.
Vincent Vanderpeer. You mean that man standing on that rock over there?
That's right. I've worked with him for many years.
Is he your boss?
Oh, I don't know about that. We work together. He's tried to film here before, but he never got permission until about a week ago.
Oh, really? But why did you want to come here in the first place?
If you're looking for a reason to write down in your notebook, I'm sure he can tell you if you ask him. I'm just the guy who carries around the camera.
You always carry that camera with you?
Most of the time.
Interesting, okay. So, because of that, we got some more information about him, but maybe also about Vincent. But let's talk about last night.
You were here yesterday, I presume? Last night?
Yes, I was.
Here, in this clearing?
No, I was over at the cafe getting something to eat. Richard Remington was there too.
Remington? You saw him last night? Just before the murder?
That's right, I saw him. He left the cafe looking rather ill. I offered to help, but he just wanted to go back to his office. He looked like he had a lot on his mind.
He was ill yesterday?
Perhaps it was something he ate.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'm not too sure what I could present him, so we'll definitely get back to him. I can only imagine that he'll be here for the foreseeable future. So let's just back out of this, and instead talk to, I believe his name was Vincent?
Ah, yes, do you have a message for me?
No. I don't think so.
Then why are you here? I'm incredibly busy.
You don't look it. Who are you, anyway?
What a question. You're serious? I am Vincent Vanderpeer,
The famous movie director?
the artist, the visionary, the auteur. I'm a man of many talents.
Okay, that was interesting. So, we have, let's hope you have a talent for answering my questions. That is a very talented beard you've got, at least. And I hear your work was going downhill lately. After asking that, the police officer, whose name is, I just don't remember apparently, because he's not an important character and he prefers to hide in boats as opposed to get his hands dirty. After asking him about his fabulous mustache, I mean, about your beard, sir, it looks very similar to ours, I think.
That is a very talented beard you've got, at least.
You're in my light. Could you take a few steps back, please?
But then I'd be too far away to talk to you.
I know.
Can anyone just walk in here and start filming?
Okay, that's interesting. Let me see. So, I already like the idea. Has always had permission from to leave the swamp forever. So I think forced offered to help only recently got. So it feels like this is pretty obvious. I also love how we just have random things like my eyebrows and a ghost. And then of course the camera itself. I don't know where we're getting the ghost from, but that's apparently a thing. But so this feels pretty obvious. They've only recently received permission to murder the victim, dress up as Boggy, to film here in the swamp. So it definitely feels like that this is just the answer. Vincent Van de Peer only recently got permission from Richard Remington to film here in the swamp.
Vincent Van de Peer only recently got permission from Richard Remington to film here in the swamp. I wonder if Mr. Van de Peer has been breaking rules. Or maybe he'll have an excuse.
Okay, the challenge topic will now be available when talking to Vincent Find the Truth. That's interesting. So I guess through our, I don't know, powers of deduction, or our thinking really hard, as he kind of puts it, if he just truly focuses, we've unlocked, I guess, just a portion of the conversation tree, sort of similar to what we had with that other guy. Well, so the question is, can we talk to him more, or wasn't given official permission to... Okay, that's interesting. So that is the challenge piece, and we unlocked it. Tried to film before, but wasn't given permission. Talk to everyone. Okay, so it's very interesting how we get these pieces of information. I suppose with that, can I talk to him still? Okay, so I can ask questions and the challenge is already unlocked, but let's ask these questions first.
What's a famous guy like you doing in a place like this?
Quite. I'm sure you're thinking, why doesn't he send an assistant? But that's not the way this director works.
But what are you doing?
I'm feeling, I'm experiencing, I'm discovering. This area, the history, the atmosphere, it's the perfect setting for my next film. I'm on a scouting mission to get to know this swamp before I begin work on the latest masterpiece in a string of masterpieces.
You're making a movie about Boggy? About the swamp creature?
Of course. He's a fascinating individual, isn't he? So mysterious.
No idea. I haven't met him yet. Is that your cameraman over there?
Yes, that's right. Bobby Burl, my faithful right-hand man. Well, faithful enough, you know.
No, I don't know.
He's an expert cameraman. Really knows his trade, of course. But he gets a bit muddled when it comes to priorities.
Like how? You mean he's lazy? He doesn't look lazy. He looks a bit scary.
Oh no, nothing of the sort. He just has a little hobby that sometimes distracts him from his work. But I wouldn't want anyone else shooting for me.
Okay, that's interesting. So maybe we can ask him about his hobby. Let's talk about last night.
Were you working yesterday? Here in the swamp, I mean?
Indeed I was working. Very hard indeed. Well into the night.
Hard work, is it? Getting to know the swamp?
You jest. But yesterday I was getting even more involved than usual. Yes, difficult to comprehend, I know.
So what kind of work were you doing?
Well, I was, unable to find my faithful cameraman last night. He had hidden himself quite completely from view.
Bobby Burl, right? Did you need him to film for you?
Always. But being a resourceful type of man, I stepped up and took on the responsibility myself. I was filming in this exact area, in fact.
You were filming? Last night? Here?
Yes, at the time of the murder, I believe. But wait, I know what you're thinking. Now, don't forget, I'm not here to shoot some experimental documentary. I have no interest in late-night surveillance footage.
Did you see anything at all? What is it you were filming?
The water. I was filming the water. It's a fascinating subject, one that has me captivated to the point where
So, you didn't see anything useful? Got excited there for a minute.
Nothing useful to you, my good detective, but there are some odd sounds on the audio track. Nothing.
Oops. Well, hopefully that doesn't skip anything and that just paused it. I'm sorry about that.
Is there something I should ask the cameraman?
Okay. So nowhere to be found last night. Was the murderer came to the swamp in the first place was so useless. I mean, I do like this one as just a part of an answer, but okay, so he's, I guess, lied to me in some way because Vincent has told me that he was nowhere to be found last night.
Vincent Vanderpeer told me that Bobby Burrell was nowhere to be found last night. Simple enough. What was Mr. Burrell doing last night that meant he couldn't help out his boss?
Nice. Alright, perfect. We got another one of the challenges unlocked. Well, I mean, since we have a challenge right here, let's challenge him.
I heard this isn't the first time you've tried to film here.
Where? In the swamp? What are you talking about?
Tried to film here before, but the camera broke. Remington has denied you filming permission in the past. Remington never found out about your previous attempts. So, I guess this is one of those things where we have to kind of remember what was told to us before about this, and I believe it was that they've been denied in the past.
Remington has denied you the filming permission in the past.
Oh, that? Nothing but the natural process of being in a profession like mine. Every situation simply requires the right approach before the gears start turning smoothly. You understand, I'm sure.
Why did Remington not want you filming here? And why did he change his mind?
It wasn't even up to him. This area is protected, you know. There are certain rules, certain regulations. I encounter this kind of thing all the time, really.
That doesn't explain why he changed his tune. It's a little suspicious.
Why would you say that?
A famous movie director suddenly gets his way.
What on earth?
I wonder how that happened. Time to use my notebook. Just drag an item onto the paper to draw the idea.
That's very interesting. This is a very interesting thing. Obviously, he gave him a love letter or a signed picture of himself, but I'm gonna make a really big guess that he most likely gave him just a giant sack, a giant novelty sack with a $ sign on it filled with money.
Right. That's the one. I think you bribed Remington to get the filming rights.
Well, bribe is a strong word. It was just a little arrangement between friends. Nothing worth getting upset about. I simply promised him a cut of my next movie's profits. It made sense, since he owned the area anyway. Just a favor for a favor.
So you would have owed him money.
Only a small percentage, simply out of courtesy. And not for a long time, either.
Interesting. So we completed the challenge. We can present clues or present profiles, things like that. I don't think there's anything right now that would want to present, although apparently we now have the film footage to look at. Why are these random question marks? Did we miss something? Present a profile.
He's been working with me for a number of years. A real expert, of course.
Oops. Well, okay, so I guess that makes him talk about the person.
Ah, yes. The reason we're all here, of course.
Not me.
Isn't he your prime suspect?
Well, officially, yeah, but I mean...
What an amazing creature! No one has seen him for 60 years and he still manages to get accused of murder. Incredible!
Okay, that's interesting. So we can run through all of them regardless. I don't know, let's do this.
The world's premier director. The king of wit and whimsy. You met him? You're a lucky man.
Wow. I mean, that was only mostly... And by mostly, I mean completely self-centered. Okay, let's talk about the murder victim.
Now there's a man who could handle himself.
I'm not so sure.
Well, apart from yesterday, that was just a one-off, wasn't it?
For him, I think so, yes.
It's a very interesting way of putting it. A one-off. You know, the whole being murdered thing. I guess it really does only happen once. Let's talk about the film footage.
I don't know if it's any use to you at all. I'll film again tonight and try to get a version without all those bizarre noises in the background.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this is like film. Alright, this is a category, and so we have the film footage. Crime scene, we have the lockpick. Just a bunch of question marks must just sort of represent, like, random places, like the bog. I get it now. Okay, well... I mean, we could keep asking about clues, but we can always come back. So... what... Footage recorded last night at the exact time of the murder, filmed by Vincent Van De Peer in the clearing. Tap on a sound to hear it play. Sorry, that's quite the sound. That sounded like a gun. This is... well, that's him dying? What on earth? Okay. So we have the creaking of the boards as someone steps on them, an outcry of surprise, a gunshot. I'm not sure what that clang is. Someone dying? So, this sounds like him getting... sorry, one more time. That sounds like him maybe dying or running away. The ripping is probably the sound of... boy, this camera really caught a lot of these sounds. Also, didn't he say that his camera never leaves this side being this guy? And yet we have this random film footage. How do we have that? We'll revisit that later, but let's talk to him since we have a challenge question, and I have a few more questions for him. That voice, huh? That's very funny. Okay, let's present a clue. Let's talk about this film footage.
Vincent's work, I see. I'm glad he knows how to use the camera at least.
What do you think all those noises are?
Well, judging by the time this was recorded, I'd be able to make a pretty good guess.
And I can only assume that pretty good guess is exactly what we would expect it to be. Let's, I don't know, try maybe another clue? Actually, no. Let's present some profiles first. Let's ask a few questions. Let's ask about Van De Peer. I think they might just say the same thing they said earlier, but it doesn't hurt.
The famous director, and my friend.
Short, sweet, to the point. Okay. Ask about Mr. Remington.
You should ask someone else.
Okay, knows nothing about Mr. Remington. That's cool. What about
Try
Bobby?
showing it to somebody different.
That's amazing. Okay, so he forms no opinions.
A prolific cameraman with exceptional skills at carrying heavy equipment.
The way that they describe themselves is actually somewhat hilarious.
What is it? Some evidence from last night's murder? That's great.
It feels like we're just spinning our wheels doing this, but, I mean, with that being the case, let's deal with this challenge real quick.
I heard from Mr. Van De Peer over there that you were nowhere to be found last night.
Didn't I say I was at the cafe?
Yeah, you did. But your director needed you for some filming, and he couldn't find you. What were you doing that was so important?
Well, let's see. After I ate, I had a walk around the swamp. I didn't have my camera, so I was free to stretch my legs for once.
Where was your camera? Don't you carry it around with you all the time?
No, not all the time.
Well, so it was broken and being repaired at that point. I mean, that's interesting. Lost in the swamp and went looking for it. Obviously not true. We do know that he left it with Van De Peer, as he has basically said it. So, let's go with this.
You left it with Vanderpeer, and he used it instead that night.
That's right, he was looking after that camera. So I went for a late-night stroll. This place is beautiful in the evenings.
You just walked around? You didn't do anything? Didn't see anyone?
Well, I can't say that. I have various ways to pass the time, you know.
You were collecting samples of swamp water, as every good cameraman does. You got lost in the swamp and were trying to get out, or far more likely, Vanderpeer said you had a hobby on the side.
Vanderpeer said you had a hobby on the side.
Is that what he said? Well, yes, he's right. I brought 2 cameras with me when I came here. I left my video camera, yes, but I have another one. It's much smaller, and it only takes black and white photographs. You know the kind I mean?
A really old one?
Yes, I suppose so. I've always enjoyed traditional photography, and this place is a wonderful opportunity to take some pictures of a natural environment.
So,
Okay.
you were having some time off to take black and white photographs? For fun?
Only one photograph. You have to be disciplined when you're not using a digital camera.
Can I see it?
Of course. I took it near the woods at the back of the swamp. It's quite an interesting shot, but the light qualities weren't perfect. Here we are. Feel free to take a look.
Wait, what? This is a photo?
I haven't developed it yet. I only took it last night. Just brush the developing fluid over the photo to reveal the image.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess let's brush it. Oh God. What the hell?
What? Is that Boggy? The swamp creature just standing in the water?
It could be. Personally, I'm not convinced, but I'll let you decide for yourself.
Well, it certainly doesn't look like Boggy. Blurry photograph, show something. So, I mean, I think that the assumption we can make is this, like, right here immediately looks like part of a costume. So this feels like a costume. Can I just present him this?
Yes, that's my photograph, taken near the woods at the north end of Boggy's Bog. Have you tried looking there?
Not yet. Okay, that's interesting. Well, I mean, we can... We need to figure out what to do here. So this is not suspicious.
Not suspicious.
Because we have the answer. This is still a little suspicious. This isn't really suspicious because it's been confirmed.
Not suspicious?
This is also not suspicious.
Not suspicious.
I just love his voice. It's like he's asking himself a question every time he says it's not suspicious. This is not suspicious.
Not suspicious.
So far, I'm going to call it suspicious until we can look a little bit further into it.
What?
This isn't particularly suspicious.
Not suspicious.
That's a little suspicious. A little suspicious that he heard or saw nothing. At least to me. This is not suspicious.
Not suspicious. Not suspicious.
The more you click and the faster you click, the more confident he sounds. Also...
Not suspicious?
Also not really suspicious. Again, there he goes asking. Now, these two are relatively suspicious. I'm very curious about those. The Boggy thing, also kind of weird.
What?
I mean, that looks like they all say something. Except the dead guy. Jeez. Alright. So, let's make our way
Rocks
to...
sitting in the water like stepping stones. If that was a natural occurrence, it's...
So let's try that again.
Rocks sitting in the water like... If that...
You know what I forgot to do? I gotta click the button. Alright, so let's head this way, because this is towards the North Woods, which he talked about. Oh. Well, we've ended up by the museum. However, with that, unfortunately, we are out of time. So, thank you very much for enjoying me, well, not enjoying, well, hopefully enjoying, but joining me a little bit longer here at Point to Play Games for some more Detective Grimoire. And with that, have a wonderful day, evening, or whatever it is, and I look forward to seeing you next time.